Hey guys, what's up? It's Jordan Feigenbaum. Just making a quick video for you. I know it's been a while, and as you can tell, the website has gotten updated. I'm slowly going to go through each blog post, make sure all the links work, everything's live, update the content if I need to. Just wanted to make this first video in a series of videos on equipment for training. And actually, I've seen this particular subject botched numerous times over the internet. So I don't want to do that, and I want to take my time. And actually, last night I made a video that was about 20 minutes long, um, and it's too long for YouTube, for my account anyway. So anyway, I just wanted to talk about lifting shoes and why you should get them, and and then my actual deadlift shoe. So first of all, why would you want to get a lifting shoe? What is a lifting shoe? Classically, so here's an example of a lifting shoe. This is the Adidas Adi Power. These are the latest and greatest. These are the little white shoes. They actually had a red and black model out before this, and the all red first version of the shoe. The tongue and the strap and the laces are a little bit different, but these are my dirty Adi Powers, and these are my squat, the shoes I squat in. So the main difference between this and a sneaker is going to be that the heel, and so the effective heel height on this shoe is 3/4 of an inch. And just so you know that an effective heel height is the distance between where your heel is actually going to sit in the heel cup of the insole and the ground. So that's the effective heel height. And this is about 3/4 of an inch, and that's a pretty much industry standard. The Nike Romaleos also has the same effective heel height. There are some Olympic shoes, Wayroos is one that I know for sure, and then a couple other brands that are a little bit lesser known that actually have a much taller heel. And generally those predispose themselves to Olympic lifting. Similarly, Do-Win private labels a shoe for Rogue, and used to rather be they had the Ripito model shoes with the half-inch heel. They just recently came out with this similar shoe. It's half-inch heel, it's a little bit lower. Would not be my first choice for weightlifting, but might be a pretty good option for powerlifting. So kind of a broad strokes kind of thing here. Why would you want a weightlifting shoe? What are its benefits? Well, one, it's an incompressible sole. The sole of it's actually non-deformable. So when you push down into the ground, that you're driving a vector of force into the ground, and you don't want it to disperse, to go everywhere. If you have a sneaker, the sneaker is you can twist, deform, flatten out, smush, for lack of a better word, or to reference Jersey Shore, depending on how old you are. And otherwise, and yes, you can actually get force loss by it dispersing. The other thing, and that's not just vertically, but also medially and laterally. So this shoe, the boot of the shoe is actually very stiff, so that when some people have been cued to push their feet out, or try to turn your feet out, or push out to the outside of your feet. I don't necessarily think those cues are universal, but some people have been told that, and having a stiff shoe boot allows you to do that without actually deforming your foot. Another cool thing about weightlifting shoes are these metatarsal straps. It actually maintains the arch of your foot. People ask all the time, why do we humans actually have an arched foot? And actually, yes, it's a semicircle. If you were to scan all the muscle, all the ligaments, all the soft tissue off the foot structure, it's a semicircle. And why? Because that's the best way to disperse force. And so having this metatarsal strap actually maintains your arch so it doesn't collapse. And interestingly, if you watch somebody squat or deadlift a very, very heavy weight, there's actually two bony structures. So I'll show you. So here's the inside of the shoe. Here's the outside of the shoe. So if someone was standing, right in front of you, this is the left shoe. On the inside, right here would be your ankle bone. People call that, it's your medial malleolus or medial malleolus, depending on who's your anatomy professor and how crazy they are about the vernacular, the nomenclature rather. So, and then on the outside is the lateral malleolus or malleolus. And so these bony structures, it's a good landmark. When actually you see somebody without a shoe on, especially without a lifting shoe on, you actually see that medial malleolus drop, cave, during when there's a lot of load placed on there, and that's basically the arch kind of disappearing. So a weightlifting shoe is pretty good. Again, it gives you better force transfer. Kind of keeps allows you to keep the arch support. This has one metatarsal strap. Nike has two metatarsal straps. So as far as the actual practical difference, I've had both. I actually like the Nike for powerlifting a little bit better than the Adidas for in general as far as from a stiffness perspective, but I actually prefer this little bit flexy toe. So it's all about personal preference. As far as width of feet, you'll hear commonly that Adidas have a narrow foot. And that's actually not true for the Adipowers. The Adipowers and the Nikes are both very accommodating to a wide foot. These shoes, the Power Perfect 2s, which I'll talk about in a second, are actually probably my favorite shoe on the market right now, but they are only for a narrow foot. I have a narrow foot, and so these would be my favorite shoe. They're not as expensive as either the Remelios or the Adipowers. They're a little stiffer. I think they're a little sturdier, but it's for a narrow foot only. I actually like all of the shoes I've mentioned before, the Nikes, the Adidas, all much better than any of the Rogue stuff or do-win stuff that aren't leather. That suede tends to kind of stretch, and they last a while, and they do their duty, but they seem a little wider to me, and then I've seen some deformities and some stretching actually go on in the shoe. So that being said, they have a wooden sole, and it's pretty good, so that you can actually replace the sole. It's pretty nice, where you couldn't do that with the plastic, but it's composite, so it's unlikely to wear out. So anyway, what the heel does essentially puts the ankle joint in a better position to allow for more forward knee travel. So a lot of people have really tight ankles, Achilles restrictions, stuff like that, and you can kind of basically people get better mobility when they use a shoe. There's a whole host of different factors, and actually some literature on the topic. People actually say, oh, it doesn't increase ankle range of motion. Actually, it doesn't technically, because the range of motion is the same. It just puts it in a better position, so where you don't get those restrictions during the movement we're talking about. So functionally speaking, in a squat, in a deadlift, or in a clean, setting up for clean or snatch, yes, you get a little bit more functional range of motion than you otherwise would in a flat shoe. And you get better force distribution. And you don't, your medial arch doesn't, or your foot doesn't collapse. So that's kind of definitely, I would get a weightlifting shoe. They should be directly sized. I actually like to buy my shoes a half size small, so you want them real snug. Big thing that people kind of argue, well, yeah, definitely, if you're going to do a moderate stance, squat below parallel, squat, having Olympic shoes are good. If you're going to clean and jerk or snatch, definitely have Olympic shoes. It's a great idea. But what about deadlifts, Jordan? I like to deadlift barefoot. And hey, I like deadlifting slippers. I used to anyway before I actually made these shoes. These are the Power Perfect 2s from Adidas, and normally they have a 3/4 inch heel. But as you can see, I actually told a cobbler to take the heel off. So what they did is they used a heat gun. They actually peeled the heel, the back of the heel down and away, and they actually cut the heel all the way down so it's flush. It's actually flush all the way across. And the problem is, though, that the shoe boot itself doesn't lend itself to actually being flat. There's actually kind of a reverse rake in that the heel is lower than the toe. I call it a reverse rake. So how I mitigated that is I actually you can see I actually cut the insole out just to leave the heel cup. So the heel cup acts as like a mini heel inside the shoe, so basically it puts my foot flat, and I still get all the benefits of a weightlifting shoe, a very stiff boot. This is basically like deadlifting in chucks without an insole in there. It puts me real close to the floor, so I got that benefit. I'm close to the floor. I've got the stiff boot, so there's no lateral distribution of force. I've got the metatarsal straps, so my ankle my arch doesn't collapse. I was actually getting pretty bad cramps in my feet when I deadlifted real heavy, so I built these shoes out of necessity. And I actually, before I figured out this cutting the insole out trick, I really felt like they were reverse rake, which I didn't like. So, baseline recommendations, I think everyone should, if you're training, even if you're not a competitive lifter, you should definitely have lifting shoes. My default, my bias is to recommend everybody gets a 3/4 inch heel to start out with. It's pretty much jack of all trades. It's going to work out really well for other people. If you're a competitive lifter, you're definitely going to play with the heel height, or maybe even have different sets of shoes. For instance, Mike Teixeira has a flat do-win that he had made, very similar to my these Power Perfect 2s, and he squats and deadlifts in those, and he has a separate pair of shoes to bench with a taller heel, so he can keep his feet flat on the floor. But ultimately, you're going to have to try these out and see which heel height works for you if you're a competitive lifter. General strength and conditioning, I would definitely recommend the 3/4 inch heel. I like Nikes, the Adidas. Those are by far and away the best shoes out there right now. And if you have a narrow foot, the Power Perfect 2s are my favorite on the market right now. So anyway, let me know your questions on shoes. I'm glad to do another video like this, and thanks for watching, guys.